And I
Also, it's a
think
horrible cartoon.
terrible cartoon. Yes. Let's
Like,
just
it
get that
has
out the
not
way.
aged well at all. Like,
No,
if you have ever gone back to watch that show to this day, it has aged
I
horribly.
can't. I can't. I try, but I can't. It's not good. And when you watch it, you realize, all right, all right, all right. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another relaunch. I am LZ.
I am Keenan.
What's up, Keenan? How are you?
I'm I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
It's very hot in DC.
Yeah.
It's been a very hot week actually. They were talking about something how there was like a 41-degree shift in the temperature that went up.
Oh my.
So
Okay. Okay.
don't know global warming. It's happening, so it's very hot
All
right
right.
now, but we're doing all right.
All
How
right. It's
about you?
short there. That's what that sounds like to me. It's time to get the thighs out. But it's not.
Okay, you know.
I know that's right. It's been pretty good here too. It's been getting warmer,
Okay.
and really that LA weather where I'm like, oh, I need to be outside and like chilling. I used to pre-pandemic. I used to like take my comics to the beach.
I love how that's a thing pre-pandemic.
Right, right. Yeah, times have changed now. It's pre and post.
No.
It's a whole new life we live now. I used to like, uh, roll a blunt, go on down to the beach with my comics and enjoy like
Oh,
the weather.
oh
Ooh,
boy. I,
it was
I
great.
love it.
Uh, but now things are getting warmer again, and like might have to start doing that again. um, but speaking of comics, let's get on right into it.
Okay.
Up first, we have Cable number 10, and this is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Phil Noto. And I know you didn't read this one, and
That
technically
is
I wasn't
true.
either,
Okay.
because
This was the final issue, wasn't it?
no, I think there's one more. I think it
Okay.
goes to 11. It's either 11 or 12, but I think it's 11. So technically I wasn't supposed to be reading this issue either because
You dropped it.
last time I said I was going to drop it. But then I found out that they were only going to do up to 11. So I was like, you know what?
Might as
I'll
well finish it
finish.
up.
I'll finish it off, right? So I will say this issue was better than the last. And
Okay.
I think that's I wasn't there.
That's true.
uh,
That's very valid. I believe it.
yeah. So no Domino in this issue, and it is pretty much all about how young Cable wants to revive older Cable, and he is having this like turmoil of what he wants to do with it, and he wants to basically just have a the resurrection of the older one because he feels like he needs help like defeating Strife, who is the clone of his older self. So he was going to try to figure out something with Xavier. Emma ends up stopping him and is like, "No, what are you doing? Why don't you go talk to your dad about this? Like he is like the captain of Krakoa. Go and talk to him." And he goes to Cyclops. Cyclops is getting a fitting for his Hellfire Gala costume, which is kind of a cool little nod.
Oh, okay.
Jumbo Carnation is like measuring him, and Cyclops is like, I don't want anything too flashy. You know me. And Jumbo's like,
You know
I know
me.
you don't want. I know. And they end up going on like a little mission where they try to have a little father son time, and it's because some Araco mutants have been out in London like doing whatever they want to do because
Oh,
they want
okay.
some time off the island, and they've been like beating people's ass in a bar. So the Cyclops and Cable go and try to like stop them from messing things up or whatever. And we meet these two new Araco mutants. I think their names were Castor and Polox. I think that's how you pronounce their name.
Oh, I love
And
that. Like the
yeah,
star system.
oh, I didn't even
Star.
think of that. Oh,
So, like, fun fact, this is like a really big, fun, nerdy fact about me. When I used to play RPG games like Dragon Age and stuff like that, I would always name my characters Castor and Pollux.
oh,
Like
that's
all the
really cool.
like all the time.
Oh, I love that. Come on, fun fact. So we meet them. I think Castor has like super strength or something like that, and Pollux can generate these like psychic weapons, and she like these psychic ninja stars and stuff.
Betsy Homage. Always. Always.
Yeah,
Always.
pretty much. And Cable is talking to his dad about like how he is feeling like kind of trapped or whatever, and you basically learn that he wants to. I think he's probably going to end up going back to his own timeline at the end of this.
Okay.
So I won't spoil the ending here, but you see some stuff that happens in like a future. I think it's the future. But I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be young Cable grown up or older Cable. I don't know. I got confused towards the end because of all the clones, but I'm going to write it out to see if it's like the end of Cable, basically, because I do think young Cable is going to go back to his own timeline because he feels as though his main mission was just to come back in time and stop his older self from not doing what he was supposed to do, which was correcting the timeline, you know?
Okay.
So he came back, defeated his older self, and sent the original 5 back to their original timeline so that everything fixed. He feels like his mission is done and they need to resurrect the older Cable, but we'll see what else end up happening in the next issue.
Okay. My question is about the Iraqi mutants. How did they look? Did they have really nice designs? Like, I think about Exosaurs and how it introduced all these new mutants, and they had like these really intricate armored looks and just like great. What were these two giving?
I would say they were noticeably Iraqi mutants versus just regular mutants. They had like the one character Castor, I thought her scars on her face, or not necessarily scars, but like tattoos or whatever on her face, they looked almost like Apocalypse's, and that was kind of cool. I thought that I don't know if they like how he is in Morocco right now. They were just kind of like doing some kind of touch on that, and the other one looked kind of cool too. So they noticeably looked like they were from Morocco.
Okay. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So
that's like the most exciting thing for me. I want a lot more of those mutants.
Yeah, I thought actually that was the coolest part of the issue was the two of them kind of popping up because like I said, I wanted to drop the book, but but I'm gonna keep going because it's got like one more issue. So we'll see how it all ends.
Okay.
All right.
What would you rate it?
3 out of 5.
Okay. That's fair.
3 out of 5. It was a solid issue. The new Arachno mutants were really cool, and I am interested to see if he goes back to his own time. I don't like time travel stories at all, but I do appreciate the ones that like have a resolution at the end where it's like, okay, I'm going back to my own time. I'm done now, and that whole time travel stuff is done. So if we can get that, then cool. But if this opens up more time stuff, this is going to be a waste of time. I'm definitely out. Okay, next up is New Mutants number 17 by Vita Ayala and Rod Reese. And you are reading
Yes,
New Mutants.
I am.
Okay.
I think this issue picked up a lot from the last ones. I do think that Vita is still playing with a lot of plots, and I feel like every time you kind of start to get invested in one, you switch over to the other, whether it's Danny and Karma fighting in the other world, whether it's whatever going on with the younger mutants and the Shadow King. There's just like a lot happening. But I do enjoy this book a lot.
Okay, I also agree with that. I feel like this issue was better than the last as far as the multiple stories all going on at once thing. The last issue had a lot of those where it didn't really hit for me, whereas this one, I felt like the few that were focused on in this one at least kind of came together really nicely. I actually really enjoyed the entire mission that happened in Otherworld with Danny and Karma. That was really good. I thought the art was great as well. And I also loved the resolution that happened in it. The thing I'm noticing about Danny is she's kind of similar to Jean in that they lead with compassion and Tell me if I'm wrong here.
Because I'm listening.
I know
I'm
you're
listening.
getting tell me if I'm wrong here. But does she always like force her compassion onto people? The way Jean is, like, you know what I mean? Where she ran after this boy in Araco or whatever, and it was like, no, let's take you back or whatever, instead of instantly just listening to him and realizing that he was in a better place.
So I was actually going to say that about the issue. I don't actually care for Vita's interpretation of Danny. I think it's like, I think that while Vita has a really good handle on a lot of character voices, I don't feel like the voice they have for Danny is like one that really fits. I don't know. Maybe we could say that this is a mature version of Danny, and that it's a version of her that's kind of grown and she's trying just to do something a different way. But like the Danny who I've read beforehand, it doesn't really fit in line with that. Again, I agree that she's a person who leads with passion, and she really leads with her heart and things like that. But Danny is also like very smart, very tactical. She's a warrior. Like if you think about in the early issues of New Mutants when they were with the Starjammers and they were watching Ileana and Raza fight, and she's like, no, I'm like want to pay attention to this battle. Like she's very hard in that way. I do think that Vita's Danny is a little too motherly, like sweet and motherly to the point where it's like she's like she once knocked Blindfold up the head with a shotgun.
Okay, she's
blind. Danny's, I mean, it was young X-Men, so I don't know if you want to count that either. But like, Danny's just not really like that, a super, super soft person. I even think about when Rosenberg was writing Uncanny and he had Danny and Scott kind of have a talk together. She's like, it was a part where she was compassionate, she was showing that she cared, but it was also still like a kick in the ass, like, get up. Your life isn't that bad. So that's the only thing I'm still kind of not sold on.
Okay. That's why I was going to ask, because she seems very compassionate in this, and I felt like that was her, but I wasn't sure if this was like being overly done compared to who she actually is. Still a great issue. I really enjoyed the reasoning that the Josh kid explained why he did want to stay, and how he talked about he was from Jersey, so he was like, I've been around a shit before, and he talked about how, like, when his mutation activated, he was the reason why there was the town thought there was a ghost or a monster running around and stuff. And I'm sure that's hard to deal with, where you go in the other world and he's like, I feel the same. Also love the way that they talked about dealing with resurrection now, and how he was like, I think it's okay that I can die here. I don't need to be able to live forever.
And I also love the fact that they're just like still in Otherworld, and that we're continuing that, and the mutants are in there and exploring, and we're getting more connection to that. I'm really excited because mutants obviously occupy Otherworld right now, and Avalon, Sevalith, and wherever Pestilence and the other one were living and ruling. So I just love it. This is great.
This is some great stuff. What would you rate this?
I rated 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Again, the art obviously like blows it out. Like Rice doing Otherworld, like I kind of want it on Excalibur. It just looks fantastic, and it's like exactly what you'd expect for the world. The costume's great. Again, I think a lot of the character voices are nice. It's just the way that Vita writes Danny. It's kind of just clicking it down for me, because Danny is so important to the book right now. And again, I do think that because there are so many plot lines happening in the book, that it's kind of hard to get like really attached to one. Like I said, I was really loving all the stuff with like Anole and Rainboy and what they were doing, and then we would jump over to something with like Gabby, and I completely actually forgot that Gabby was a part of the book until we went back to that story.
Speaking of that scene though, I do think that felt weird. That was actually the one scene in it that I didn't really like, because I felt like that conversation should have been switched between Scout and Anole. I felt like Anole should have been the one telling her about, like, be better with your body or whatever. And while he was like, it felt like he was still dealing with his own body and being like, a lizard or whatever, and people ostracizing him for it, when I thought he already got over that. Like, he isn't a new character.
Yeah. That's why I said 3.5.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5 for
Okay.
me. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Up next is Shadowman #1 by Cullen Bunn and John Davis Hunt.
Okay, so I read this. I have never read anything with Shadowman before. This is actually a Valiant book, so it's not one of the big two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've been like really trying to push myself to go into like some other studios, Boom, Valiant, like get those books and try them out a lot more often. So Shadowman is like a voodoo, magical type of character in the
All
Valiant
right.
universe. Black guy. I've seen
Yep.
a lot of
Up
stuff
the
with
alley.
him. Right. But I've never actually read anything with him in it, so this was like completely new to me. But Cullen Bunn is, I think, a pretty solid writer, and he writes horror stuff a lot. And so he was kind of
Yeah.
saying he can take like a horror mystic approach. And again, look at who you're talking to here.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Right up your alley.
uh, and then John Davis Hunt, I think, has amazing art, and I picked up some of it. I saw some preview pages, and I was just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna try it out. So I tried it out. I think it's a good issue. Again, I don't really know how to talk too much into it because again,
Okay.
I'm not very familiar with Shadow Man in general outside of what I just told you. But I think it's a pretty good starting out issue. Like you learn kind of who the character is. I don't really know the history of like the villains and the people he's fighting and stuff like that. But I will say if it is something that you're into, you want to read a book about a black guy. If you're into mysticism, if you're into voodoo, the art is great. John Davis Hunt is fantastic. There's a lot of really nice action sequences in it. It feels kinetic. It's fluid. Again, you got like some horror, mystical, cult stuff going on. It's pretty interesting. I would recommend it. 3.5 out of 5? No, 3. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. I'm giving a lot of 3.5s today. A lot But yeah, 3.5 out of 5. And again, I only say that I only put it so low because I'm just not super familiar with Shadow Man in general and like
Okay.
what goes on because there's obviously some stuff that references like his past
Okay.
and other villains he's facing. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm into it. So as I'm pretty sure as the book progresses, I'll like and I get a little bit more familiar. I'm be like, oh yeah, this is a 4, this is a 5, it's hot, it's all right, I'm with it.
All right.
But for right now, it's a good jumping on. It's a good #1 issue. For
Solid
sure.
first issue.
Yes.
Okay. That's good to hear then. All right. Next up is Beta Ray Build #2 by Daniel Warren Johnson.
Ooh, this was good. So
Okay.
you
I
know
never
I
knew you were such a big Beta Ray Bill fan. I knew you loved like Thor and Asgard and all of them, but I didn't know you were such a big Beta Ray Bill fan.
So Beta Ray Bill was like I so before I like finally came to terms with the fact that I actually enjoy Thor, I was always like I like Beta Ray
Okay.
Bill. And so this is a really good. So Daniel Warren Johnson, he actually is writing and drawing this issue,
Oh, no.
and he has colors from Mike Spicer on it, and so it's just following Bill. He basically his hammer to turn him back into his humanoid form was broken by Thor, and so he's now currently on a journey to find Odin so he can get another hammer so he can go back. Because in the first issue, him and Sif was about to get down and dirty, and then she was
Oh
like,
yeah, I
"Oh, are
remember.
you gonna
Yeah.
turn back human?" And he was like, "I can't," and she was like, "Oh," and so so then he left. And so we get Scourge, the executioner, who is actually dead right now, but he gets a pass from the Valkyries to like come back temporarily because he wants to be Bill's wingman. Which is
Oh.
like it's like a really cute scene. Like Bill's like kind of, and he's got on like this t-shirt and his jeans. His arms are popping, and he's got hat. He looks good. I'm like, come on. I was like, Sif playing horse face or not. But he's sitting there, and then like Scourge pops up, and he's like, "Oh, he's like, I was a spirit walking around Asgard, and I saw you get rejected by Sif, and I felt bad for you, so I want to come on this journey and be your wingman to like help you find whatever." And then we find out that Pip the Trove is actually stowed away on his ship also to come along on the trip with him. And so we find Odin. He's like in some bar across the galaxy, and they get into this huge bar fight, and he comes and breaks it up. And so Bill's telling him, he's like, I want you to make me another hammer so I can look human again. And Odin's like, I don't have that kind of power anymore. He's like, I'm an old god. I'm not king of Asgard. Like, I gave all that to Thor. This is not my problem. I can't help you. But he tells him that, but he basically tells him
Yeah.
he can find something that has similar power, and it's, Surtur, the one who
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
destroyed
yeah, yeah.
Asgard. It's in his original like homeworld. So he's
Oh,
like,
ain't
there's
that in hell or something?
exactly. So he's like,
Or
there's a sword
Niflheim?
there
Did I
that
get that
help
right?
you.
I probably got that wrong.
Something like that. It's not even. It's a bad place. There's lots of bad things there. But he's like, there's a sword there that basically will have enough power to turn you back to human. You just have to go and get it. And Bill's like, all right, whatever. So they go, they get there, and then basically, so then like as they're going through this portal, like something starts happening to Bill's ship, Scuttlebutt. And so for those who don't know, Scuttlebutt is like Bill's humanoid kind of ship. He talks to it as his friend. It's very important to him. And when they do that, basically the field of the energy of the universe does something, and it gives Scuttlebutt like a robot form.
Oh,
And
okay.
so it's like fun. It's fun. It's
Well,
it's
that's
it's a
fun.
great beta ray Bill story. If you like him,
Gotcha.
this is kind of like him dealing with his own issues with his body, his face, where he stands in Asgard, because Thor made him the master of war, but he still feels like very inadequate to Thor, and it's like every time he tries to do something, here comes Thor, still save the day. He doesn't have a hammer. Sif doesn't want him. He's sad, and he's just trying to be happy. It's great.
You know what? And sometimes a sword can do that for you, make you happy. It'll be kind of cool. Do you think he's gonna get like a sword instead of a hammer?
I think he'll get a new hammer.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, he'll definitely probably get a new hammer. Those Thor boys, they gotta have a hammer. They can have a war axe or like a sword every now and again, but it's like you gotta give them some type of hammer.
It's their thing.
Yeah.
They love swinging their hammer around.
Yeah.
So what would you rate it?
4 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Super. I really like. Again, I think it helps that the guy is like writing and drawing this, so I feel like everything is coming out exactly how he wants it to look. And like the fight scenes that they get into in the bar are like fun. Scourge is pretty fun. He's really just like, I'm your wingman. I'm just here to help you. I don't care. Pip the Troll kind of comes into it because he realizes that Bill is having issues with his own appearance, and so he's like, I'm a troll. You think I don't want to look different on the outside too? Like I know what you're going through. So it's
All
like
right.
it's a nice little emotional beats that are happening. It's a fun little story.
Okay. Shout out to them. Go ahead and pick that up, y'all, if you're into Beta Red Bill.
Please.
All right. Up next is Action Comics number 1030. Damn, I didn't know this was so high. 1030. Jeez. Action Comics 1030 by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Daniel Sempieri.
So you're not reading this, right?
No, it's Superman.
So I picked this up. I picked it up for the Midnighter backup from Becky Cloonan. Which let me talk about that really quick. So the Midnighter backup is happening. Have you ever seen the movie Upgrade?
Mm-mm.
So there's this movie called Upgrade where this guy, he basically gets this implant because he's in an accident, and the implant helps with all of his body functions, and he can like move and do all this stuff. And then the implant becomes self-aware, or it is self-aware, and it's like actually taking control of his body and like helping him fight really well and do all of these things. Midnighter has always had a supercomputer in his brain. Right. I had to go back to Future State so I could read those Midnighter backups to actually remember what was going on. So in the Future State universe, there was a version of Midnighter. His supercomputer had broken. And there was this guy who was like this tech genius. He had basically created a poisonous version of kryptonite. And he was going to use it to kill the world, because what else do supervillains want to do but destroy the world? There was, speaking of time travel, we find out that the Moon Knight from the present contacted the Moon Knight from the future with the new version of the supercomputer.
Midnighter?
Yes, Midnighter. What did I say? Moonnighter?
Moonnight.
My two faves.
I know.
Midnighter. He gets this super. So the Midnighter of Future State comes to the present, and the Midnighter who was in the present gets stuck in the future. And so basically, the Midnighter from the future came to the present with the technology of the guy who created the future kryptonite. Okay?
Gotcha.
He was like a genius. So he was able to use his technology and implant it into himself to be his new supercomputer. However, when he did that, the villain is still like self-aware. So he's talking to Midnighter through the implant throughout the entire issues of the backup in Action Comics.
Oh, that's kind of
So
cool.
so what has to happen is, because when I went back and read the Future State issues, I realized that they're in a time loop right now.
Okay.
So the Midnighter who's currently in our present is going to have to again do all of this, or he has to figure out a way to close the time loop so this doesn't keep happening. Um, and a part of what he's figured out he needs to do is he needs to kill the villain in the present. And in the present, he's just like some tech billionaire. He's basically like Elon Musk, and pretty much. And
Okay.
so his goal is like, he's like, okay, I'm going to go and kill you now before like we get to the future of you trying to be like this crazy person melting the earth.
Hmm.
And that's what's going on with Midnight. It's like you said, it's actually pretty interesting. It is time travel, but again, like you said, we're trying to close the loop here so we don't have to keep doing this, and that's what
Okay.
makes it work. But
Like I said, I'm all for closing the time loop, child, because
but a lot of what's going on in this backup story actually is affecting what's happening in the main Action Comics story. So, getting to the
oh,
actual Action Comics 1030, what's going on is we see Superman's training. He's being viewed by Batman and the Atom, and so they're basically telling him that his power levels are dropping and fluctuating. And Adam is saying that he thinks it's just because of solar flares that are naturally happening in the world. He's like, I don't think this is a big deal. Like, the sun's brighter right now, so you're stronger. It's not, blah, blah, blah. Batman's like, no, I think you have a form of, like, poison, like,
mm,
like radiation poisoning in your body due to the fake kryptonite that was found.
that was
Um,
going that Midnight is dealing with.
Yeah, and so he's like, if this is something that you need to actually really pay attention to, he's like, you actually might want to start talking to John about joining the Justice League, because Batman's also been looking at John, and he's like, his power levels are increasing, and he's going to be more powerful than probably you or Kara ever were. And so he's like, deal with that. We also get a really nice scene of John and Damian together, and so they've always been kind of drawn up as friends in the Super Sons book.
Yeah.
And so I will say I never really read Super Sons because, again, kids.
Yeah.
But reading their dynamic here in this issue was really nice. It was just, they're both at
I
very
only have
different.
heard great things about that series.
I
Honestly,
can
I didn't
see
read
it.
it because I'm not trying to do that either. But like, I've heard great things about them.
Like, after reading this, I can honestly believe it. Like, their dynamic was really nice, and of course, they're both in very different places than where they were in the Super Sons book. Like, John's a little bit older, Damien's a little bit older, but they have a dynamic that's similar to Bruce and Clark, but it's also like fresh and a little bit more open. There's a lot more trust there. Like, Damien obviously knows that something's going on with John, and John tells the story about how in the future there's just this one point in time where Superman stops getting talked about. They think he dies, and they say it happens when a random ship of Kryptonians just show up to Earth one day. At the end of the issue, Superman and John get called to like some big battle that's happening, and what does Superman find? A ship of Kryptonians, and that's where the issue is.
Huh. I wonder if they're going to take him to something. Because I
So
doubt
I
that they kill Superman.
So I think a lot of what's going on in this book and in the backup story is what's going to lead us to that Superman and Authority miniseries that's supposed to come out.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what I'm crossing my fingers for.
Okay.
But it just would make sense to me. Like, you're kind of retiring Superman because his power levels are decreasing, so he needs to work with other people. During the Bendis run, he had actually got deputized by the government to kind of be like a person who does things a little bit more on the secretive side, but still like with good intentions. And then again, you have like the future state stuff with Midnighter and this new type of kryptonite that's been created. So that's what I think this is going for him. And then they're going to make John Superman.
I did see that they probably are going to make John Superman. Not probably, they are. He's going to
Yeah.
be in his own Superman book, which is great for him.
Yeah.
It was probably time to do that anyway. So, what would you rate this book?
I would rate it a 4 out of 5, and like I would rate it so highly, especially because of the art. Daniel Samperi's art is like fantastic. Okay, he's actually the one who did the Future State Aquaman issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Really, really good stuff. And he also
That's good
did a couple
stuff.
of issues of Tom Taylor's Suicide Squad. Like, beautiful art,
Ooh.
fantastic art. I can't remember who does his colors. I want to say it's Jordi Belair, which is like
I mean, yeah.
Queen.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like really good. And I'm not a Superman guy. Like
Right. Yeah. You know
I,
I'm not.
s- I still pick this issue up for the Midnighter backup, and it's good. The villain of the book is also Mongol from Warworld.
Oh, okay. I
He's
like
the one
Mongo.
who's he's like the one sending the people to come and destroy Earth and Superman because
That
why
sounds
not?
right. Mongo loves to beat his ass up.
Yeah,
Right.
like John even says that like when they're flying up, he says something about like why would Mongol do this or why would he do this, and like Superman's like it's Mongol.
You
What else
just
do
want.
you need to know?
Okay, nice. I'll definitely be interested to see where this all leads because I do think I'm going to get into that Authority book. You know,
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah. I'm always going to be here for Apollo. So, uh, next up is Robin #1 by Joshua Williamson and Gleb Milkinov. Apologies if I pronounced their last name wrong. And I also picked this issue up. I know you did because there was that cameo in it. And I will say that I actually really enjoyed this
It
issue.
was fun.
It was fun. I I know it's blasphemous to say, but I like Robin. I mean, and I like Damien. Like,
Okay.
you know, I do. I think him and Bruce have a fun dynamic, even though he's a murderer. And uh, I
I
think
do
that he's
I
fun.
do like the thing about Damien is that it's very well known that he is going to be Batman one day.
Yes.
Like I think with a lot of the other Robins, we kind of like go back and forth. Like, is he? Will they? Won't they? Blah blah blah. Well, like everybody knows, like no, Damien will be Batman. It's like not
Right.
even a question about it. But again, and I think we talked about this too when we talked about the Trinity and retiring them. I think DC is a company that's been really pretty good with aging their heroes a little bit. They're going to get to a point with Damien. It's like you can't age him anymore unless you're retiring Bruce.
Right. Right. Because him being his biological son, like, you got to get older.
Like, yeah,
And
sure, we can have a 26-year-old Nightwing walking around with like Batman still kicking. Like, okay, that works. Like, we can make believe that. But like, if Damian is 13 now and Bruce is supposed to be maybe like 45, we're gonna get
right.
to a certain point and it's just not gonna work anymore.
I
So
agree.
I'm interested to see A, how long that takes, or B, just kind of like what they'll do with it. Because obviously Damien's a little bit older in this,
Hmm.
so that's
Yeah,
cool.
and I think they say in this he's supposed to be like 14 or something like that. But I I don't agree obviously with his. I'm not the same kind of arrogant that Robin is. I just find it interesting that he is like he he knows he's gonna be Batman, and
Yeah,
every time he fights somebody, he is like, I'm gonna be Batman. You are in my way, and unfortunately, he ends up being proven right every time because he ends up beating their ass, and he
exactly,
wins.
exactly.
Um, how did you feel about like the invitation for this tournament that they're gonna have?
Oh, I loved it. I think it was cool. Like the issue, like was literally written for me.
Yeah, it really was.
It has everything I wanted. I'm digging the Fight Club angle. I'm loving the way that they come into it. The challengers. Again, we saw Connor Hawk, which is just like
Yeah.
the moments. I'm so excited. Like the art was fantastic. I think Glebe does like it's kinetic, it's fluid, it's got kind of this cartoony youthfulness to it, but it works. Like the facial expressions are great. Like this issue was, yeah, I'm
I thought
into
the
it.
moment when he had Damien reading anime before he was going to go back on that boat was really cool.
Mhm.
And like the art style shift that happened there was really this was really cool to see. I don't know any of the fighters in this.
I think some of them are new. Like
Okay,
I
cool.
think the character who pops up at the end, Flatline,
Yeah,
I think she's new. I'm pretty sure she's new. She's supposed to be like Damien's big new nemesis. A couple
I
of them,
see. With
yeah,
the way this ended.
yeah. But I love some of the other ones definitely existed. The only one who mattered was Connor Hawk though. So
I figured that's who you were there for.
That's it.
And I have a feeling that they're gonna have a great like showcase in this series. I'm expecting them to really like fight.
And I love an artist who can draw some action and who can do some fights, do some justice. And like from what we've seen in this first issue, yeah.
I'm in. What would you rate it?
Another 4 out of 5.
Yeah, this is getting a 4 out of 5 for me too. Yeah. It was good. I'm into this. All right. Last book of the week is Black Widow #6 by Kelly Thompson and Rafael de la Torre. And I don't know what's going on because there was a time where there weren't this many like street level characters on my pull list, and yet here I am. And I'm gonna blame you.
Welcome to my side. I'm so happy that you're having this revelation. It's
I mean, they be giving.
It's been time. And I hope that everyone who's been listening over the last few weeks or months or however long this has been going on, I hope that you are also having this revelation that the street is where you want to be, okay? That's where the heroes are. That's where the action is. That's where the stories reside, okay? Come on down. Come on down.
Where the story reside? Where the story reside? You know, for the time being, I'm still gonna stick to the sky. But
I mean, I do have on a Star-Lord shirt right now.
True.
Outlaw.
True.
So
true. But you come up there sometimes.
Yeah, you know, you're here.
You dip up there sometimes. But I will say this Black Widow issue is great. It looks as though Natasha is really going to be setting up her own kind of spot now in San Francisco. Yeah, and her Widow network, which I had never thought about, but like that's great for her to do, to have like this web of widows of all these like kick-ass girls who they work together and stuff.
I love how it was. I love how like Yelena was kind of like, no, this is something we should need to be doing.
Right. Natasha's all like, oh, no, we shouldn't be roping in more girls to this, and Yelena's like, no, yeah, let's do that.
Like, no, absolutely. She's like, so I'm gonna start looking for people. Like, you're the Black Widow, I'm the White Widow. Let's find a blue, red, green. Like, let's keep it moving.
She's like, let's build out this whole web. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I did like the fill-in artist for this issue. I will say I'm sorry, I did prefer Elena Casagrande's art over it. Just the way that she did the action over this one. I think De La Torre did like fine with it and get it, but there was like just the fluidity that Casagrande had that I kind of missed. But this was a really nice fill-in.
Yeah. Natasha's now got her new hairstyle where she's trying to be like Cassie with the side shaved.
It's like killing me. I can't.
Shit, it's something. Got to switch up the style every now and then. And how did you feel about this kind of like newer character that they're probably going to introduce? I assume she's going to be a new Widow. Yeah.
It was fine. I think we get like the basic kind of intro. She's a rough girl on the street, kind of trying to make her own way. Probably got a heart of gold, something like that. You just need to save her. So it's like, okay, fine, we'll take it. I'm ready to see Yelena training them.
Because that's coming. I can already see the fight sequence of Yelena training the girls and probably being very hard on them.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm here for. So yeah, but no, Kelly's killing this book.
Yeah,
this is great. This is great, Natasha. And I'm a Black Widow fan. I'm a Black Widow fan who got a little tired of Widow, and
okay, that happens sometimes with characters that have been around for a long time.
They're so old. Okay? Yeah, it's just like every once in a while, it's like I need a break. And then especially for Widow was getting a lot of series back to back to back, and everyone was kind of like the same thing, just with a different artist. And I appreciate that. The government, they distrust her. She's on the run. Somebody's after. Like, we know. We get it.
Right.
So I'm glad that Kelly's kind of like taking us in a different direction from that. And I think that's what we needed again.
Yeah. I think she's great at that. Shout out to Kelly Thompson. What would you rate this issue?
4 out of 5.
Same. This is also getting a 4 out of 5. I think I think this may have been my pick of the week.
Beta Ray Bill was mine.
Okay. Yeah, I
But
think.
I have
I
more.
mean, yeah,
So.
fair. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think my pick was Black Widow. It was great. Um, all right, y'all. Well, that was the comics of the week. Let's go ahead and take a little break.
All right. Ooh.
Oh, muscle.
Can you see a little muscle?
I see it. Yes.
Okay.
All
I don't
right.
know.
You know,
I don't know.
all right. All right. I see it. I see it. I see it. I
No,
see
all
it.
right, guys. Hello, welcome back. We are here for another panel, and this week I actually want to talk about something that I know that you're very passionate about, and that's animation.
Yes, yes, yes,
And
yes.
so we're going to narrow it down, of course. I want to speak a little bit more about Marvel animation in particular because I was watching the MODOK trailer earlier this week, and I was like, oh, I actually think I want to see this. I was like, it kind
Yeah.
of like looks
Fun.
funny. I was like, it looks really interesting. It's got like this little robot chicken style going on, and yeah. And then I started thinking about the What If animated series that's coming out and like the little things that we've seen of that, and it looks really exciting. But again, like you are the animation expert, so I just want to talk to you about like Marvel animation in general, like where it is right now, where it used to be, and some of those cartoons we saw beforehand, where you kind of hope it goes, what you think of it, all of that. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So like, like you said, I love animation. I think it's my favorite form of like to get engaged with media and stuff like that,
Yeah.
especially superhero content. Um, I think I prefer animation just because it's literally limitless. The budget constraints aren't nearly as big, and what the actor can do is much more extensive than what they can do in like a live action thing because you just got to draw it, you
Yeah.
know? Um, and Marvel animation in particular has been something else. I think a lot of it has been bad.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I think a lot of it has been bad. There have been some bright spots over the course of like the last, I don't know, 40, 50 years that they've been putting stuff out. But for the most part, I think that it's been kind of bad. And I think maybe it could be because of the time that it was being made, because there hasn't been a lot of recent stuff that they've been putting out. Um, I know that um, Disney kind of went through a restructuring 2 years ago, I think, and their whole animation team was like fired. And um, they like restructured all of that because they were bringing it all like in-house, I think, and they were
Okay.
trying to have everything under like a different department and everything like that. So they've been restructuring a lot of their stuff in-house, but I thought that when they finished that they would be like, all right, we fixed the way we're going to do this stuff now. We're really going to start pushing the streaming service with Disney Plus. Let's start firing on all cylinders with our animation because Disney was like a pioneer with
Yeah.
animation, stuff like that. Fun fact, they spent $1 million on Snow White, and that
Oh,
was in
I was
1937.
gonna say, like in the 30s.
Yeah, like they spent $1 million on it during like the Depression.
Hey, when you're hot.
And I think back then, and still kind of to this day, that film is like looked at as like a big marvel in animation because they spent that much money to have that many key frames. That's why the animation for that back then looked very fluid compared to the things that were done around them because they hired a lot of animators to animate that and get that done. So they were like very about putting the money behind animation to get things done and
Okay.
kind of innovate with that, but they haven't in a while. They've kind of, I think they've shifted towards Pixar being that route that they do ever since they kind of bought Pixar. They've kind of really pushed Pixar, and that style of animation is kind of what they are really going towards.
Yeah.
But their 2D animation has kind of been lacking, to say the least, especially their superhero stuff. Um,
Do you
I think
have?
my
Oh, go ahead.
I think my first introduction to, Marvel animation, I think like everybody was that X-Men animated series in
Yeah.
like 1992 or whenever it came.
Everybody knows
Yes.
that.
Right. A classic, Um, and I
Also, it's a
think
horrible cartoon.
terrible cartoon. Yes.
Like,
Let's just
it
get that
has
out the
not
way.
aged well at all. Like,
No.
I think that, like, for us in our younger years, it was fantastic. It was great. Like, if you have ever gone back to watch that show to this day, it has aged
I
horribly.
can't. I can't. I try, but I can't. It's not good. And when you watch it, you realize the kind of flaws that they have in it. They reuse a lot of scenes, and you notice. And I think this just it may speak to the time because I think with shows like Invincible, you can get away with a lot more now. But like if you notice back on then, Wolverine only fought robots or he was taken out very quickly because he couldn't use his claws against people in this show. So like a lot of people end up being nerfed because of that. Obviously, we see what they do with Jean in that.
Tripping over that wire. It's iconic. It honestly is iconic.
It's something. I would definitely say that it's something. Um, Something that's kind of stuck with her longer than it should have. And I think that so those 90s shows were kind of my first introduction to that kind of stuff, but the stuff that came out in like the early 2000s were what I was actually really starting to get into. They kind of really ramped up with the animation. That's when we started to get X-Men Evolution.
That was a good X-Men cartoon. That
We
was a
got
good show. Quality.
fantastic. The Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes. I wasn't the biggest fan of the animation and the character designs on that show, but I did like the characterization and the way that the stories kind of ran. I just wasn't that big in the animation there. But I think those early 2000s shows kind of really picked up, but then it was kind of quiet for them after that. Um, so yeah, the Marvel animation hasn't been the best.
Do you think that, because obviously you can't really have a conversation about Marvel animation without at least talking about DC a little bit, who's been very successful in a lot of their animated series. Do you think that it maybe has something to do with the stories of why the Marvel cartoons haven't picked up as well? Like, do you think DC stories just adapt better to that type of setting?
Oh no, because I think like um Inferno, X-Men's
Hmm.
Inferno would make a fantastic animated like arc of a
Hmm.
series then. Or a bunch of the Avengers runs. I talk about it before, but I'd love to see Operation Galactic Storm in live action, but it would also make a fantastic animated series. Probably even better then because you can really go as far as you can with it and really show things exploding and all the different aliens and stuff and going back and all the heroes and the clashes and all that kind of stuff. Um, so I don't know. I think that like they kind of started to die out because of the profits behind them.
Hmm.
Really, um, a lot of animated shows bank on like merchandising afterwards
Yeah,
to really
yeah.
help them. At least back in the 90s anyway. I feel like with DC, they've been consistently good and just putting the content out there and they know they're gonna be good because Batman probably gonna be in it and he sell
Yeah.
toys, so it's fine.
Hey, well, never go. Like, we always complain about Batman, but he brings the money.
He
Like,
bringing the money, so he's always gonna be there for that merchandising. I don't know how well the merchandising for Marvel kind of was with those shows and why they ended up dying out that way. Um, I think that as they started to get bought by Disney,
hmm.
that merchandising power really became important for them. So that's when they started to shift towards more like the Avengers Assemble TV show and stuff like that, where they were really like a brand then
Yeah.
that were pushing it. Because I will say, I've never really watched any of that Avengers Assemble TV
Yeah.
show. And I think it's got like 5 or 6 seasons. And I know for a fact that while I was pumping through Target for a while, you could see those toys everywhere. Like
Yeah.
uh, those action figures of those characters and those designs were
Yeah.
always sold out, like flung around the stores. So I think, like merchandising standpoint, they started to shift towards that, which unfortunately didn't necessarily call for fantastic animated shows because you just
Yeah.
gotta put the show out there to sell the toy.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you so I mean, because like you say, even the Marvel's Avengers show, I never really paid attention to that as well. Do you think because of maybe like the popularity of the Avengers in live action, that as we go into the future, people may not even want to see them in animation anymore, and they might like focus strictly on the X-Men or some other type of property there? Or do you think they should just kind of like go full force and milk it all?
You say, I think they should go full force and milk it all because personally, I would prefer an animated movie over a live action one
Okay.
of a superhero storyline, just because, like I said, you could just do more with it. Not to say I wouldn't take the live action, I'm gonna go see that too, but like with animation, you can just get away with a lot more. Um, I also just feel like I don't know. I really just feel like they could really fire on all cylinders and kind of show more because if you're looking at the MCU, right? They
Yeah.
started the MCU before they even got the rights back to the X-Men and everything like that. So they were never really able to fully show everything the way that we probably known them to be in the comics. And I personally feel like at this point, Marvel as well as DC, they've kind of already done it because they've had a bunch of animated content. But I
Yeah.
think Marvel and DC could kind of go the manga anime route with this stuff, where there is a an animated series going along with the comic. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
with manga, there's like a I don't know how many volumes of stuff, and there's an anime that pretty much just adapts that
Yeah.
and does all of that. I think it's totally something doable that they should start doing in comics. That you have all these comics that you've been putting out for 75 years, you can easily start doing a animated like run of this stuff.
That would actually be really nice. I'd definitely be into that. Do you have favorite Marvel animated projects?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Because
No, no. I mean, because you said a lot of it's bad. So, do you have
yeah,
some? I mean, obviously, X-Men Evolution is like up there.
yeah, yeah.
But
X-Men
again, I
Evolution,
never,
best
and I think
X-Men.
I think another thing with me in like Marvel animation is I feel like so much of it kind of passes me by. When I think of like that Fantastic Four show, the Avengers Assemble cartoon, wasn't there also like an Incredible Hulk show or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, there was one. Yeah,
Yeah, like they always feel like blips, or I feel like it happened and I found out years later.
yeah. I think that is because of the way that they were kind of marketing those shows. A lot of those shows that came out in like the 2010s, like that
Hmm.
Avengers Assemble, that Incredible Hulk. Um, there was also, I think, like a Black Panther kind of run that they were doing in
Oh.
Avengers Assemble and stuff like that. That
Mm.
was all marketed on Disney or Disney XD, and I don't think a lot of people A have those channels, and B, we too old for those. And they were marketing those towards the people who were gonna buy the action figure and
Mm.
at Target. So um I think one of the best shows they've put out was Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I think that
Oh.
was a really great um cartoon that they've had. And that felt like there was some long form storytelling that they were doing with that. Like the episodes were continuous. There was a beginning and end. And I think that was a really great show. But I think for a lot of it was outside of that, X-Men Evolution. I also did like Wolverine and the X-Men.
So I
With
actually didn't like that cartoon.
Really? Why?
I was not into it at all, and I like try. I've watched it multiple times. I've even gone back on Disney Plus and watched it a few times. I don't know.
It's all
I
right.
I just
It's not great. It's all right.
yeah, it just didn't do it for me. I don't think I liked a lot of the liberty, and I don't really need my adaptations to be straight from the book, like line by line. I don't mind something to change, but I didn't like a lot of the changes that were made to it. I did not like.
Was it
I
the
just
best
didn't
scene?
like it. I didn't like the character designs. I don't even remember the Betsy thing. I didn't even care about it, honest. I mean, it was embarrassing, but it's like whatever. She was the villain of the story. Of course, she was going to get an
Right,
embarrassing.
right. It makes sense.
But I didn't like the character designs. I didn't like the way the story played out. I
I
just
didn't
didn't
like.
like it.
I liked the special effects for the powers and stuff that they were doing. I did like that. I always appreciate in any kind of animated thing with Storm when they show her flying and they actually show like wind around her, and that's what she's using to like support herself in the air. I'll
Yeah.
always appreciate that. But I wasn't super sold on a lot of the designs on the.
It just I don't know. I just don't. Maybe I'll try and watch it again and see if my opinion changes. But I
And
remember like
I also don't know if you can really sell a show on Wolverine. It felt like Wolverine and the X-Men. It didn't feel like an
yes,
X-Men.
maybe that's also and it's like
Yeah.
I say this is a person who loves Wolverine, like all the Wolverine all the time. But it's like if you're gonna again, it was a Wolverine story featuring the X-Men. And it's like okay, this is not what I wanted to watch right now. If you want to just give me a Wolverine story, just tell me you give me a Wolverine story. I'll gladly watch it. It's not a problem. You don't gotta lie to me. Um, so that's what it was.
Yeah, I feel
They
the
did.
same.
I did like the way they had like their little House of M with like Magneto, Polaris, Wanda,
I
Quicksilver,
did.
like being a family. I like seeing the House of M as a family, even though Wanda and
I,
they ain't always on there,
who are you
but
telling?
but the House of M I think is like a great thing.
Yeah, I do. And I don't know. I've been looking at a lot of those appearances lately, or not like appearances, but the name drops of the Pretender, and I get the feeling they're gonna make her like establish her being Magneto's daughter, but like his human daughter. Um, and maybe redoing and bringing back the House of M as like a whole family or something. But we'll see. It could be an interesting dynamic of why he, you know,
I think
was focused on his daughter who was a human.
when it comes to like Wanda and Magneto and that whole situation for me, at this point, I'm kind of just like, if you're gonna do it, do it. Either like,
Yeah,
if
should
you're
have get off the
not,
pot.
I'm kind of over it now. It's like she either the daughter or she ain't. Let's move on. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
too
did
late.
like her appearances. She's actually had a lot of appearances in these animated shows.
Oh
Um,
really?
she's been in pretty much most of them. There was that one random Avengers show from the 90s that had her and the really bad designs that was canceled after one season. I think Hawkeye was based off of like West Coast Avengers, and he
I
was in
remember that.
that with like a weird accent. She
Yeah.
was she was in the 90s X-Men cartoon. She's pretty much been, I think, in most things that have been related to the X-Men, which is
Okay,
wild.
Wanda, the A-lister, the A-list X-Man.
I just brings chaos, so adds a little
Mhm.
something to the story. Um, I would love it if they actually did start to do more stuff with animation and really do it and push it the way that I think that it could be. I think obviously the X-Men would be great. I think all of the major properties at Marvel could be like their own animated series for I don't know 6, 7 seasons of something easily.
Is there any that you feel as though should only be animation? Like you don't think it would translate well to live action?
Oh, that's a good question. Hmm.
Like I personally think I don't think we should ever see a live action Ghost Rider again.
Well, why not? He was on that Hulu. Uh, I mean the
I
Agents of
don't.
Shield
Agents of Shield. Agents of Shield is a great show. But I do not think he's a character that we need to see in live action.
in live action. He probably could stay animated. Yeah. Um, I don't know if there's. I don't. I would have to think about that one, but I can't think of. I would probably say any of the like bigger, like crazier looking characters they should keep to animation. Um, like the Supreme Intelligence kind of thing from the
Mm,
I'm glad they kind of made it like this is what you see when you are talking to it, instead of that like head that looked like Zordon.
Although I would have liked to see that.
See?
I would have. I would have. I'm not gonna lie.
See, I don't know. I feel like probably for me, probably any of the like bigger outlandishy kind of characters would be looking in.
Do you have any hopes and dreams right now of like what you're gonna see on either the Modoc show or um, the What If animated series?
Well, you're gonna call me out on this, but I already know that Wonder Man is gonna be in the Modoc show.
Oh boy.
I'll, I'll be tuning in.
What we should actually do is make that like a drinking game. Anytime you mention Wonder Man, we have to take a shot. Okay.
Okay.
That's gonna be a thing.
Okay. Everybody listening, like, y'all get to participate too. Get
Yeah.
yourself a drink. And if I name drop Wonder Man, take a shot. But yeah, I'm gonna tune into that. I get, like you said in the earlier, it's giving like Robot Chicken kind of Marvel thing. So I'm gonna check that out. I think that'll be really funny. I'm not super excited for the What If show. I think it looks cool. But there aren't any of the like promoted stuff that they've been doing so far with it, is like what we can see with like Black Panther becoming Star-Lord and stuff like that. Some of the What If premises, I'm like, I don't really care about.
What if it's like it's a niche. Like you have to be like, okay, yeah, I want to see Black Panther Star-Lord. Like I do not want to see that.
Right. I don't. I'll check it out to see, obviously, because like I'll stream it, but I don't really need to see that. I think it's wild to me that you would think that there would be more on the horizon from their animation, but there isn't.
I really expected to see an uptick in animation when we hit like the pandemic, when we got full force of that. I was just expecting that that's kind of where studios and like a lot of companies would be. It's like, okay, let's start funneling these money into these animations so we can start getting that out. So I was actually really shocked when that didn't happen.
Yeah, you would, especially from these bigger like companies, you would think that that would really happen. However, I do know that I know we're talking about Marvel, but I know that Young Justice season 4 has been like underway with production and stuff, and getting finished. I want to say they said that they were done.
Okay, there's also a little Aquaman animated series that's going to come out that's supposed to be like an in-between of the first movie and the second movie, but it doesn't make sense because the design of that Aquaman doesn't look anything like Jason Momoa unless they're giving him green hair in the sequel. Unless they're cutting it and giving him green hair. But like the animation, I like it. It's got kind of like a what's that style? It's like Steven Universe, Thundercats Roar had it.
Oh, it's like
Calisthenics or something like that.
I can't think of it. What's the show with the blue bird and the squirrel?
Yes, that show.
I can't think of the name of that show, but like that kind of stuff.
The regular show.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like in that style. And so it was. Apparently, a lot of people don't like that style, or they've been turned off from it. I had no idea. I think it's.
Mind it. I usually like it if it's used in a comedic. It makes me think that they're gonna be taking it in a comedic. So
yeah.
Like, it's really funny.
That's what it looks like. So I'm excited for that. I thought it looked great.
And even that's DC has definitely been doing more with their stuff. They got the Harley Quinn animated series, which is actually good.
Amazing. If you've never seen it, please watch it. Like amazing.
Yeah.
It's actually like the best Harley Quinn I've ever seen.
Yeah. I was watching it and I was like, it made me come away from it and actually be into the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy relationship.
Yes, before, which I'd never been into it before.
Me neither. We'll have to come back and do a DC animation panel.
Because I got some things to say about that.
Ooh, ciao. I got thoughts. More thoughts, obviously, because they've just done more with their stuff than Marvel. I will say that Marvel has done some decent animated movies back in the day, in like that early 2000s. That Doctor Strange movie was actually pretty good.
Okay.
Um,
Because they used to have
the,
like a lot of it was like visual like comics that I remember they used to put out, which was basically like you reading the comic
yeah,
as a cartoon. I remember when they
yeah,
were doing those. That was supposed to be hot.
yeah, they did that for the Morrison's X-Men. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
but the Doctor Strange animated movie was good. I thought the animation in that was great. I thought that was actually what the movie was just going to follow. And it was also more like kind of violent than I thought it was going to be for a Marvel thing. So if y'all haven't saw that, definitely check that out, especially if you're into magic. The Hulk's Planet Hulk movie was also good. Um,
Okay.
yeah, that was pretty good and accurate. And again, that had some more like violent stuff in it than I thought it would have.
Mhm.
Um, I thought that those were gonna kind of keep going, but they just didn't. They tried to do one with Thor, which I thought that one was decent. You should probably check that one out because I think
Okay.
Enchantress is in.
Let me add that to my list. Right.
I'd have to rewatch that one, but I think Enchantress is in it, and it shows like Loki and Thor back in the day, like when they were kids and all
Mhm.
of them growing up and stuff. So they were trying to do some movies and put that stuff out, but those never took off. I know that they had the Avengers, like the kids from the future
I
movie.
remember that one. The because like Storm and Black Panther had a son in that one too.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, I don't think that just ever really took off. I think those toys sold though.
And that's what I was saying. It's like I've always just wondered if it's just a thing where it's like maybe Marvel stories don't translate well to animation because they keep putting it out, but it's just like not hitting. But then again, when you think about DC animation, and how many times have we seen the Big Seven in a movie doing anything? How many times have we seen them fight Darkseid? Okay,
I
like
mean, you are not lying.
so it's just always been very interesting to me in the way that those two work and how one has kind of like just jumped and the other's kind of like trickled. But even so, DC animation also has kind of taken its own little dive in terms of story, at least. We're gonna come back and talk about Apocalypse
Yeah,
War for
definitely gonna
sure.
have to come back.
We're gonna talk about that one day for sure. Cause
Yeah.
I'm still not over it. Not.
um,
But
I,
yeah. So
I I know that they also tried to do anime for a bit too, but again, those just also didn't
I
really hit.
remember the X-Men anime. It was
Mhm.
it it didn't mix.
No, no. So I don't know. I hope Marvel would actually try to get back into the animation game, but they've been winning in live action. So
It's like, hey, who knows? Well, who knows? Let's hope for the best. I would like to get my little Captain Britain cartoon one day. See,
okay.
have them flying around. That's the dream for the goal. But that's our panel for the day. Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll come back. Speaking of animation, we have a rewatch,
Yeah.
Invincibles, the season finale, Lost of Cotton Pact.
Let's do it. All right. Yes, yes, yes. We are back. Welcome back, everybody, for another rewatch. This time we are going to be doing episodes 6, 7, and 8 of Invincible.
Yes,
And
child,
um wow.
child.
Wow.
What a show!
What a show.
What a show!
Um
And first of all, before we even get to it, shout out to it because it's already been renewed for seasons 2 and 3 that they have
hey,
announced.
2 and
Like
3.
quality,
Yeah.
quality.
I was afraid that it wasn't going. I knew that it was probably going to get renewed for another season,
Hmm.
just because I felt like they had such big names behind this that they
They do.
wouldn't like let it drop on another season. But I was not expecting 2 and 3.
Right.
They would do the damn
Get you.
thing. So let's get right on into it. Let's do like a breakdown before we get to that crazy finale. So up first was episode 6. This was called "You Look Kinda Dead," and this episode was about, Mark going to going to college and getting that first college experience and doing all of that. However, there's been some kidnappings that have happened on campus where one of these students who has been kidnapping suit people and making them into cyborg people.
I love a cyborg.
I will say that this episode for me was intense, because it really put into perspective, like, that like mad scientist trope, that they do stuff like this, just how gross it is.
Yeah.
And
like it's like, oh, this is kind of messed up.
This is real bad.
I think it's always like actually kind of interesting when you tend to have those revelations about whatever type of media that you're watching. Like, everybody knows I love action movies and things like that, and so I was watching the new Michael B. Jordan film Without Remorse last night. Yeah, and they were like having a shootout. And so I'm like watching it, originally, and in the beginning you think like, oh yeah, that's cool, but then you kind of start watching, you're just like, oh, they're dead. Like, they're like killing people out here. Like, this is kind of crazy. So watching that with the mad scientists and being like, and like even having the characters come back and be like, oh, this is nasty. Like,
and like he's got hanging bodies and stuff in there. This is wild.
It's like, yeah.
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Oh, of course.
Did you catch the cameo of the guy in the beginning was Rick?
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
They have that student who's on campus and he's like drunk and burping, and I think his name. He was like, "I'm motherfucking Chester," and just like Rick would do it. That was them like having a homage to Rick.
Shout out to them. Come on.
I think it was the same voice actor too, actually.
I have to go back and watch. I didn't recognize the voice the first time I listened.
I knew from the burping. I was like, this is Rick. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool homage that they did there. So he ends up getting kidnapped, turned into this thing, basically. Amber and Mark are being shown on the outs. Amber's like, I don't want to do this with you.
I don't like it.
Amber, we'll talk. We'll have to talk in depth about that.
I mean, but I also like a lot of these characters, but we'll talk about that also.
Because I don't know. I think Amber may have had some valid points, but
she did.
So William, Mark's best friend, is going down for the weekend to go see, the man that he met.
Man, he was excited. He was like, yes.
We've all been there.
My man has me out here for the weekend.
I know, that's right. He gassed up his Prius and drove right on down. And, Mark wanted to do things right by Amber, so he was like, can they tag along and make it into a trip? And they like go on campus, try to make things cool. They meet up with William's boo thing, a tall, jock-looking guy for him. And William's like trying to impress him, which I think was a really cool showing in this show. How they, had a gay character in it, and he was allowed to be gay. But that
it wasn't like a joke, or it wasn't like,
yeah,
it wasn't a trope or anything. It was just like, no, this is genuinely how it is, and it's just like a normal thing. It's okay.
Yeah. It's like it's not gonna hurt anybody's feelings by showing them just be what he is. He wants to go date something just like everybody else do. And I did find it very funny when they end up getting attacked by a creature that was created in the beginning, and William ends up discovering his secret identity. And I totally felt like I would have had the same kind of moment. Like, now wait a minute. I think that's my friend.
And then also to be like, how did I not realize all of this beforehand? Like, it's so obvious. Been in my face the entire time.
Right. I did think it was funny when he told Invincible, like, oh my God, you're invincible. And you didn't tell me. I thought it was ironic that the gay guy was saying that. Like
how dare you?
That was a cute little nod, a cute little moment. So the episode continues. Mark is trying to make things up with Amber. He feels like he got blown off because while they were getting attacked, of course, he does the
hero thing.
The hero thing. I've got to turn away and to become the hero. Then he comes back. However, Amber looks at it like, you just left us there. And you know, where the hell were you? We could have got killed by that thing while you just left. And now I disagree with her there. I wouldn't have been the kind of girl to be like, let me cuss you out for that, especially later on when she has a conversation with him. But we'll get there. And so he saves the day. They have that whole conversation later, and William is like, I know that you are invincible. You didn't tell me about it. Turns out William's like boo thing ends up getting grabbed by that evil scientist, and William is like, hey, Mark, like help me out. I think something's going on with this guy. I think he got kidnapped. And, you know, from the last episode, Mark isn't really too trusting about taking people's like missions.
Yeah.
You know? So Mark isn't really trying to do that at all. And Mark goes to the party to go and try to get back Amber, but then he gets another call from William and he's like, fine, I will go over and help him. But I mean, it kind of was too late.
My bad.
So like Mark ends up going down into the sewers, finding the evil doctor. However, William's boyfriend has already been changed into like a Reaniman, and they save the day. Mark ends up breaking Homeboy's jaw by swinging his fist, which looked gruesome. By the way, like his jaw hanging off like that was was wild. And yeah, so then the episode ends with the other Guardians of the Galaxy were also like kind of dealing with the fallout from the previous episode, and they've been trying to heal Monster Girl and I can't think of
Black Samson.
Black Samson, yeah. They were trying to heal them up or whatever. Black Samson looks like he got his powers back.
And good for him. Shout out to that.
Yeah, that was a cool comic book moment too. You know?
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I've heard that in the comic book they get a lot deeper into his story and like kind of who he was and how he was a former Guardian, he lost his powers and all that stuff like that. I hope they kind of like touch on that in the next seasons.
Yeah. I wonder what they're gonna do with a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy's backstories, or if they're really going to keep them there and just move them forward while they keep trying to focus on Mark. I do like, I love an ensemble cast. So the more people are involved, I'm gonna be all about it. Yeah, so they end up healing Monster Girl towards the end. Robot was like running all of these like side missions and getting Belladonna root and all that kind of stuff to heal her up. And you start to notice just how much he cares for her, which I don't know how I feel about.
It's creepy.
It's creepy.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, this is kind of creepy. And I was like, and everybody kind of just seems to be going along with it like it's not creepy.
Right.
But it's creepy.
It's very creepy. So at the end of the episode, we end up seeing that the Mahler twins were growing a body for a robot. And sorry for anyone who may have gotten spoiled about that. I think I said that on the previous episode. So apologies because I've read the comic and I said that earlier. So my fault. But yeah, he gets they see that they're growing him like a new body, and Eve is also out like doing her whole humanitarian thing. She's giving Jean Grey, or at least the Jean that people think she is, and I think that like she is very powerful, a little too powerful.
She was doing some crazy things, She needs to be on the watch list.
Yeah. Yeah, she couldn't do anything. All in all, I thought this episode was great. Amber and Mark end up having a conversation, and she tells him like, I knew that you were invincible. Like I figured that out weeks ago. And he's like, well, why are you even mad at me then? Like, why are you tripping? And like, oh, because you lied. Like, you've been lying to me this whole time. I asked you what you were doing and you were lying. And they just end up breaking up. She's like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I feel like she has a valid point, but she tripping.
You know,
For me, if I were a superhero, I would be like, come on, like, damn.
so I get it. They're also teenagers. I get it.
Yeah,
so it's like I completely understand, but I also feel as though she had to give him. You have to give him some type of leeway in it. Yes, he should have definitely told her that he was invincible, but at the same time, he's not going to tell you on the first date. You got to make sure that you're somebody you can be trusted.
In her defense, though, they've been dating for months.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he should have told her. Like, I get it. Like, I totally get it. Like, he definitely should have told her. There was this point. Like, I feel like when he missed that dinner with her mom,
yeah,
that's when he should have been like, okay, look, I need you to understand this is what's going on to show that he cares. But she also still got to give some grace to be like, you know, you do deal with a lot of bad stuff. I don't know. You might be trying to kill me one day. He should have told her.
He should have just told her. I feel like he missed out on that boat because I don't think he probably likes her as much as he thinks he probably did.
That's also what I've been getting from this series.
Because I remember someone earlier talked about like I think it was Eve about like your secret identity. Like you do that if you feel like this is the one, because like you can't take it back. Yeah. So he never did it to her. So I was like, I guess you probably don't like her. Like
I don't know. Honestly, the chemistry between Mark and Amber has just never been there for me in the first place. Like even from the jump, like how she got his phone number or how he got her phone number, and like from the first conversation they had, it has just truly never felt like Mark actually liked this girl, but she was showing him attention. And so it's kind of like, oh, okay. So again, I completely understand. He should have told her that he was invincible. Like she's right about that. But I also understand from his point of view that like I wasn't gonna tell you.
Right.
I ain't even gonna be with you in a while.
Okay. All in all, great. I had a great This was a great episode. I had a lot of fun with it. Not as great as the one before it. I will say that Battle Beast episode was lit tea, but yeah.
That's who I'm here for. I'm ready for that actually.
Yeah. Oh, he's coming back. So moving on to the next episode 7, we need to talk. And Debbie has basically come to the conclusion that she knows about the murders and everything. I'm trying to remember if this was the episode where she kind of comes to Cecil and is like, hey, Nolan killed the Guardians, and he's like, I know. I know, we already knew. And she slaps him and she's like, why didn't you tell me? Like, what's going on? And at this point now, Omni-Man has like he's done now. He's completely gone over into the I'm a full Viltrumite.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the entire exchange with Robot and getting his new body with the twins?
It was
I thought it was kind of cool that the whole cloning process that they talked about, how they were like, we're not making another we're making a copy of your brain.
Yeah, like this isn't you. Like if you die, like you are still going to die, and he will be not the same person. I liked it, and I think it's a very real kind of aspect of what goes into a lot of these cloning processes in comics and animation and like TV, and we always kind of consider that, oh yeah, you're just transferring brainwaves, but no, that's probably pretty hard to do. And and so I think even when you think about some other shows that have done it, do you watch Westworld?
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember like Westworld when they were kind of going through something similar with the little balls that had people's brains in them. It was like, this isn't actually you. It's like a copy that we've made of you. So it's like, yes, when you die, you are going to die, and it's like it's just gonna keep going like that. But he's also kind of saying like it's okay as long as someone gets to live a life that's worth living and not being trapped in this little machine thing, like this little deformed thing.
I thought it was interesting when he talked about like when he did wake up in the new body, and he said he didn't think it was going to be a continuation that like I basically closed my eyes and opened them here. Like it's a continuation, even though I'm a completely different person now.
Yeah.
Because if that other thing dies, that died, but I didn't. I don't know. I thought it was a really interesting look at like cloning and stuff.
Yeah. Clones.
Even though I don't like clones.
Let's say.
I don't like clones. I thought it was an interesting dialogue about them. I don't really like it.
Maddie needs this kind of story.
No, she doesn't need nothing.
Yeah.
She's
Madeline
good where she
Pryor
is.
deserves her story to be told.
Hasn't she gotten that already?
No, she hasn't.
What's left to be told?
Everything.
There's nothing left. Let her. She's good where she is, which is nowhere. I'm sorry. It needed to be said. So the rest of this episode we get it's basically this, we gotta stop Nolan.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Let's get back to business.
Gotta stop Nolan. Nolan is like looking for Invincible. There was a scene I think where William gets stopped by Omni-Man, and I know for a fact I would have like been shaking and quivering if Omni-Man just stood up in front of me like that. I would have told him anything he wanted to know.
I really did love the scene of Cecil and Omni-Man where he was like kind of teleporting to different places when Omni-Man just like kept getting him like almost just there. Like that was actually kind of terrifying. Because like when you think about being in that situation, if you're standing in front of Superman, it's like, okay, you really only got one shot at doing this. And if you make one wrong move, or you move half a second too short or too late, like it's done. Because he's coming to kill you. I thought that scene was really well done. And it's like, I know I have some issues with a lot of the characters in this show, but Cecil is probably by far my favorite. Yes. And it's just really so, because I appreciate the fact that he is really like, I'm just trying to do my job. Like, I know I'm the bad guy. I know I look like an asshole sometimes, but it's like, we got a job to do. Like, he is truly the only person out here that's like, I'm trying to save people. It's even like when you go back to that earlier episode where he had called Mark that one time to come be Invincible, and he didn't answer the phone. And Cecil like popped up at his house like, are you stupid? Like,
right.
Like, no, you want this job, you gotta answer the phone. So I really like Cecil.
Yeah. He aligns with your brand. That makes that makes a lot of sense. They end up sicking like all of their anything that they can. Basically, they use some Reaniman. That the guy from the previous episode was in. They call him back to bring his stuff around. They have this big like, I don't know, kaiju kind of thing.
That was with the
like yeah, that thing. And we had seen earlier in the season that Omni-Man fought that thing and barely won. So we knew that Cecil was going to keep it around, because I think he said like, we'll keep it because you never know when we might need it. And sure enough, they needed it. Sure enough, they needed it.
And he talked about how they had like removed its pain receptors and things like that. So it was like, you barely beat it the first time. Now it can't feel anything.
And it hates you. So what are you gonna do? And he was getting worked by it, but of course, Invincible, not knowing what's really going on, thinks he's about to do a team up with his dad, and they try to take the one together. The monster, I think it was named Hail Mary or something like that, is completely destroying the both of them. It's about to defeat Invincible and Omni-Man. I think it's like about to eat Invincible, and Debbie is like, call it off, Cecil, and Cecil's like, no, like,
he's like, I can't do that.
I can't do that. The one thing that we have that could possibly beat Omni-Man is that thing or your son. So like,
and that was another scene. Again, I really like Cecil in it. Cecil in it, because even when Debbie says something to him, she's like, I hate you for this, and he's like, yeah, I hate me too. It's like he knows this sucks and like this is kind of bad, but again, I got a job to do. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like if I stop this thing, then the one shot I had at beating Omni-Man also goes out the window, and it's like I need that to beat Omni-Man. You need that to beat Omni-Man, and it's just the reality of our situation.
Yeah, yeah. He's realistic. um, we always love that. So they end up like trying to fight this thing, and then the Mauler twins, they got that collar from Robot as a part of the deal for making him a new body, and they were going to use that collar to control the Immortal. Well, the collar clearly didn't work, and they revive the Immortal. The Immortal goes straight to Omni-Man, and
which I respect.
Obviously, it's like
where's he at?
I remember the last thing I remember before dying, so let's go straight there. And did you like his backstory of him basically being Vandal Savage?
Oh yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, he basically Vandal.
I was like, that's funny. I was like, that's cool.
Yeah. And he goes straight to Omni-Man. They get to fighting, and he puts up a little bit of a fight for a little bit.
He does.
No,
he does.
The Immortal. He tries to give a little something.
I'm not really sure what he thought was going to happen, because I feel like if you couldn't beat him the first time when you had like 7 other people with you who were also just as strong, then it's like, what did you really think you were about to do by yourself?
Yeah.
No matter how angry you were or powered by rage, whatever. Like, baby, he did like he messed you up. Okay.
And I mean, sure enough, he does the same thing again. He beats him up and punches him right through the stomach. And I was like, damn, the same wound, Flav? The same wound.
Like, Immortal Man ain't... Like, baby, you might want to change your name. Something ain't right.
He literally rips him in half and just leaves him there. But this is now the reveal that Omni-Man is not who everyone thought he was, because he has been broadcast on TV for this. Like, everyone who has been watching can see. So now everyone knows that he is the villain. And Invincible flies up to him, and Omni-Man is covered in blood that is not any of his own. And he just goes, we need to talk. And what good ever happens after that kind of after anyone says that to you?
That is that's kind of a chilling conversation. Like, when you get that text like, oh, we need to talk, you're like, what we need to know, like, what we need to talk about, say it right now. And they try, and they be like, no, we can talk about it later. Like, no, you already brought it up. Let's talk about it right now.
Don't do it like that. Let's do it right now. So, of course, they end up having the conversation right now, because episode 8 opens up with Nolan, Omni-Man, pretty much telling his true backstory, which is he is a Viltrumite and a part of the Viltrumite Empire. They don't go to places to cultivate them for, to be added to their empire. It's more of a takeover. And they aren't there to help, bring about, prosperity to the planet that they take over. It is join us or we will just kill everybody here. Okay. And they had a kind of crucible, I guess you can kind of say, of their own in a way.
Like, they were like going off on each other, like ripping through each other and like jumping and cutting off each other's heads. I was like, oh, this is violent. This is a little unnecessary.
Very, very violent. They were very much like, they wanted to weed out the weak and all of them.
And I just feel like, wow, what a way to weed out the weak. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about a war country and like, some fight and things like that. But it's like, there's like 6 of y'all left. Now, what happened to everybody else?
I'm all for, a survival of the fittest kind of thing. But damn, like, I guess I never thought about it going all the way to the end, where survival of the fittest, and now we killed everyone who would have any kind of inclination of not wanting to be a conqueror. Yeah. And tells us how Nolan was a part of the program of people who were sent off to planets to get them ready for to be taken over, and Earth was his.
Yeah.
And things from there just get taken to the extreme, because the fight between Omni-Man and Invincible, it was really heartbreaking.
I felt so
Well,
bad for poor little Mark.
yeah, Mark was getting his ass beat. I mean, I have to say that train scene, my gosh,
Yeah,
I had
like,
never thought about like someone doing that to someone before, but that is insane.
and again, that's one thing I will give this show a lot. You know, a lot of it has been gruesome, a lot of it has been like really in your face, and it's just like, damn. But it's also that's kind of the reality of the situation of what these things is probably happening in these superhero shows, and these battles. I even think about I was watching Godzilla vs Kong the other day,
Mhm.
when that came out, and they were like in Tokyo, and like the streets were just getting ransacked. Like everybody was in. Even remember how people had that complaint about Man of Steel,
Yeah.
and all the damage that was done. I went back and I watched it, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit excessive. And then because
They were
it came to
destroying
it,
that city.
it was like y'all were destroying it, and it wasn't even the point that like just the Kryptonians fighting was like destroying everything. No, you had the army come in. They were like shooting missiles in random towns on down the street. Like you are killing all these people. And so like watching that on Invincible right now, it's just like, damn. Like maybe we should ban superheroes. Cause
So we
this is
gotta do
not what
something.
it's given. Like
Yeah.
when he gave him that one punch, they were like out in whatever field, and he punched him all the way into that city, and he just went through
He
all
punched
those
him in
people.
the though.
Like, come on. And then he went and tried to save the building and like the lady and the yeah.
He was trying to be a hero even in that moment, which was it was a testament to his personality and him wanting to
Yeah.
be a hero. That even after he just got punched across several states, probably, he is trying to be a hero and save the people. And this building that he like crashed into and is breaking, he
Mm-hmm.
feels responsible for the people that are falling out. He's holding the building up while trying to catch this woman, and of course, it all crumbles, and he
Mm-hmm.
survives because you are invincible.
Invincible.
That's when the splash. The bloody
Oh,
splash
yeah.
happened right there. Um, but yeah, it really goes to show you just how the like, superpowers would kind of work in a world where the physics and stuff are actually real.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's why that train scene was so gruesome because
Mm-hmm.
you just beat him up and then you held him by his head and just said, "Look, maybe showing you this will show you the difference between you and them." And holding him in place while this train just runs through the both of them, and like people are dying. I will also say I loved the animation in this episode. I will say that like previously I talked about it and I said some of the scenes in this season like weren't well animated. They mix a lot of 3D and 2D animation styles,
Yeah.
particularly when they'd use like backgrounds for people and stuff. They do a lot of 3D stuff, and sometimes it looked choppy. It looked like a lot more of the money went to the finale, which is
Mm-hmm.
completely understandable. You got to have a kick-ass finale because
Yeah.
the way that they drew that train and animated that train going through him, and then we
And like
saw it.
all the people coming and like them busting and just like getting splattered all over the place. Yeah, it was. They
Just
did that.
they walked away fine,
Yeah.
survived because that's what happened to someone with superpowers. I thought that was insane. I will say that you know me, y'all know me. I um am not a villainous person, but
Mm-hmm.
I am a logical person.
Mm-hmm.
And if I was in that situation, I'm sorry. After the train part, I'm just gonna join Omni Man.
What?
I would just be like, all right, you got it.
I mean, I guess I can understand that. I mean, because it's like if you about to bring a whole army of these kind of people, it's like, what else are we truly supposed to do? But no, you can't give in like that. You have to continue to fight.
I don't know.
You have to like you gotta find a way to win.
I would be
But
like, maybe being
I
a
pro-
conqueror don't sound
I would
bad.
probably I would probably I would probably feign allegiance. I would fake it. I'd be like, okay, I'm on your side. But that's just like so I
Yeah,
can figure out what do we need to do to get it done, get you done, because you can't stay around, and the people that you're bringing also cannot stay around. It's very. Mm-mm.
now, see, I'm the character that would join your cause. you would you would convert me over to come and join.
That's gonna get you. You gonna see. Oh, like oh, you the winners.
Yeah. After I enjoyed Omni Man, and if you and your team was like, no, we can like do this, I'd be like, all right, he right. Like
Mm,
we
Okay.
shouldn't be doing this.
Okay. So you're gonna you're gonna join Omni-Man first because like
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So you
Yeah.
are on Team Omni-Man, but then once you see the rebellion against
Yeah.
Omni-Man, that's when you're gonna be like, oh okay, I don't gotta do this on my own anymore.
Exactly. Very
Okay.
that.
I can respect that. I can respect
Like,
that.
that's just I mean that pretty much tracks for a lot of my favorite characters. So
What did you do you feel like obviously Omni-Man is a villainous character,
Mhm.
but do you feel like he is outright evil? Especially after getting the scene of him like pretty much we get to that part where him and Mark are fighting and he's beating on Mark, but then he has like the quick flashback of him at the baseball game talking about and with Debbie about humanity and like feeling happy and that. Do you think that truly has affected him, or was he just kind of like whatever? I'm just not gonna kill you right
um how do I answer that without spoiling anything? Because
now.
I actually no, because they actually changed some stuff from the comic.
The comic.
So yeah, because the whole Cecil exchange, that teleporting scene, that was new.
Ooh,
That didn't
okay.
happen. Yeah, and I
Mhm.
thought that was cool. Um, Amber is also white in the comic. Um, they they changed that. So they've definitely changed some things around like for the show. So who knows? I think that no. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he beat that boy like to a
I was about
damn
to say,
bloody.
like in the context of the show and like what we saw, like
Yeah.
obviously the flashback he stopped, so it kind of gives you the sense of like, okay, yes, I have this son, I have this person, but at the same time, it's also like, is it only because he's also a Viltrumite? If he was just like his human son, would he still be having some of these same like feelings, or would he just be like, okay, he's not one, he's a human. Let me go ahead and call my people down so we can just get this done.
And Mark ended up asking him that question, like, oh, I think Omni-Man said something along the lines of, I had to be sure, like when your powers emerged, like
Mm-hmm.
I had to be sure. And like I had to make sure that you were Viltrumite. And Viltrumite, he said Viltrumite cells are so strong that like he is pretty much, even though he's only half, technically, like he's pretty much a full Viltrumite because
Yeah.
of the way that DNA works. So he asked him like, well, what happens if I would have been a human? And he was like, I mean, I would
Who
have just killed
cares?
you.
You're not one. Like, it doesn't matter right now.
But you're not one, so who cares? And then he brings up his mom. And he's like, your mother was like a pet for me.
Baby, now that would have sent me off too.
Yeah, that now if I were Debbie, that would have been like, wow.
Okay, like,
Teleport me
damn.
there right now so I can let him know what I got to say.
Yeah. So, speaking of Debbie, I got a lot of flack one day on the internet because I said I didn't really like any of the characters in Invincible. And everybody was like, "Well, what about Debbie?" And I was like, "Well, I don't really like Debbie either because she's like being so quick to like sell her husband down the river." And they're like, "Oh, well, he's lied to her." And I was like, "Don't get me wrong, he's also very wrong for lying to her."
Mhm.
But still, like they're married. But you know what I came to realize? I don't enjoy the trope in like marriages and relationships of it being like a big lie or like there being this really big secret that shakes the foundation and like kind of makes the entire marriage a sham. When I think of like marriages and relationships that I really enjoyed, did you ever watch House of Cards?
Yes, I did. Yes, great show.
Frank and Claire.
Claire the goat. Yes, Claire is a
That
queen.
that's what I especially like those first two seasons. Like that's what I want. Like
Yes,
ironclad. Like we are here.
yes.
We are locked in. We know everything. The only
We are
people who
sharing. We
don't
are
know.
sharing a blunt at night
Okay.
and discussing how we're gonna take over the world.
Okay, like that's the type of marriage. Those are the type of relationships I really like to see. The ones where it's like, oh, I've been lying to you this entire time. You can't trust anything. Oh, I'm going to sell you down the. I was watching Bonnie and Clyde the other day.
Ride or die.
Ride or die. That is the goal always. So it's like I just couldn't really get into them for that reason. But all that aside, I do feel really bad for Debbie. She got the short end of the stick. She did not deserve.
Right.
She truly just like was in here trying to love her man and her husband. She was very supportive of everything he did. Um, if he would have told her from the jump and been like, hey, especially again, like we were just kind of talking about this with Mark and Amber. Like I feel like when Mark got to a point where he felt like Amber was truly the one, he definitely should have told her that he was
Mm-hmm.
invincible. If he never felt like that, cool, don't tell her, because you're gonna break up with her anyway.
Right.
But when Nolan got to a point with Debbie, it was like, okay, you are the one, you're having my child, I'm gonna marry you. No, he should have kind of been like, I just need to let you know, I'm an alien from another planet, and we are going to come and take over and kill everybody, but you're gonna be okay. You like, I got you guys. Don't worry, it's okay. Everybody else though, cool. And so that way Debbie could have just been like, all right, that's what's up.
Yeah. And call it a day and be like, all right, I'm a rap for you. when the day comes,
just let me know. I gotta pack a bag.
And I would have kept the bag already packed. It's already ready.
Just ready. Just
suitcase.
In case you fly in one day. All right, we gotta go. All right, cool. Let's go. I got it. Yeah.
I get it. I didn't mind Debbie. I feel sorry for her that she got the short end of the stick. Mm-hmm. Although I don't have many characters on the show that like I can see myself in or reflect in, I really enjoyed the story of like following Mark and all this kind of stuff. And I love superheroes.
No. I do still think it's a very amazing show. Like great show, extremely well written, fantastic action scenes, good animation, love it.
Sing too, insane, really good.
Yeah. But and I think it's like we've said, I don't necessarily have to like every character on a show to enjoy it. And now that I like Cecil, it's perfectly fine.
So then the episode pretty much ends with Omni-Man flying off, and we don't know where he went. We did see a tear though kind of float off from him in space. So he kind of floats off. He flies off. Mark has to get healed. Who knows? I think it took him like several weeks to.
I think they said he was in it for like 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. To heal himself up, and everyone's been pretty much dealing with the fallout of it. He tries to have conversations with William and Adam Eve and Amber. They all seems like they're going to become like a little team together or something. Because Amber kind of says like, I know that things are going to be hard, but I'm here for you. I'm going to be on your team or whatever. I'm going to help you. Probably William is also going to be his best friend that, he will probably try to be, the guy in the chair, giving him the stuff. I can totally see that coming down for him. And Adam Eve, we already saw that there's going to be some kind of budding relationship between the two of them. So everyone's dealing with the fallout. Poor Debbie is
distraught
and destroyed from it, having, a drink with the tailor who does the suits, and she's like,
who's also very distraught from it. I felt bad for him as well, because he was just like, you could tell he lost his friend.
That was his homie. Had to throw the pictures away. It was just sad. But then we see at the end, like, pretty much, they ask, Alan the alien comes back, and Alan comes back and tells Invincible, oh my gosh, you need to be worried that there's a Viltrumite on your planet. And Invincible's like, okay. All right, no. He catches him up to date, and Alan pretty much tells him, like, I know you don't know about this whole space stuff, but the Viltrumites are known throughout the galaxy as being like ruthless, and they do not stop. So if he left his post, there are gonna be people who are gonna be coming back. And this is a small spoiler, but the people coming back, like, Omni-Man is like level 1 boss compared to the people who are coming back. So if we thought this was insane, the future is gonna be great. So I'm really excited for what they do with these next seasons. And Invincible pretty much tells Alan, like, there's all that stuff going on, and Alan's like, what are you gonna do next? And we get a quick montage of the twins being in jail, but they broke out, and there's still the Guardians of the Globe going on, the Reaniman and all that kind of stuff. There looks like Cecil is getting an army full of them, and
he's ready.
Who knows?
He said he know they coming. I told you. Smart.
He said, you're not gonna get me. I'm gonna take it one time.
Okay. He said, y'all lied to me once. You got it. Cool. I'm gonna give you that one. He said, but now I'm ready.
I appreciate that. And Invincible's like, I guess I'm just going to finish high school. So we're going to be following Mark and, what he's been going on here. So I'm excited for what they do with these next seasons. All in all, I would say it was an excellent show. I would give the season finale like a 9 out of 10. And honestly, I'd give the entire season like an 8.5 out of 10.
Agreed. Fully agreed. I also really did like the way that the Guardians came together. Was that the new Guardians came together by the end of the show, and how they like finally felt like a team, even though they still feel kind of like a weak team. I won't lie to you.
No, that's not kind of. They are a weak team. If I was on that team, I would have been like, y'all, we need to start expanding the ranks because
I don't really know what's going on there. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Black Samson got his powers back. I will say Rexplode did find the whole thing with Robot pretty awkward, but of course he would. It was his self.
Yeah. Also, like, that just brings up the creepiness about it because Robot is trying to clone himself so that he has a regular body from Rexplode, but he made it like a child version of him. And earlier in the episode, when he revealed himself to be like that deformed person, he said that he was 30, right? And Monster Girl's
supposed to be like 28 or something like that.
Something like that. But she's in, right? But she's in. She gets younger every time that she's like that she uses her powers. Yeah. She looks like a 13-year-old girl, right? Or like 14 something.
And she was using her powers quite a bit this episode. Like, I don't know. I get it. Like, I get you want to be a hero and everything, but if this curse is truly making you younger, I feel like you kind of want to spare the times that you turn into a monster.
Right.
Like, why you wait? Like, even earlier in the series, one of the episodes, she was talking about how she wouldn't turn into a monster for like a random training session because she gets younger. But then we saw her training as Monster Girl with Duplicate. Right. And it's like, she lying. I don't trust her.
And my thing is, with her being a kid, that's the only version of her that Robot knows. So isn't that creepy? Like, it's not like he knew, and that's not like he knew her when she was older and got younger. He's only known her to be like a little girl. So
he's a creep. That's the bottom line.
I'd get rid of that. But all in all, it was a fantastic show. I think it's a really well done series. The animation was fantastic. Shout out to Amazon for putting this out there and renewing it for season 2.
Their little streaming services moving on up the ranks. Netflix and Hulu are just dropping on down.
It's been clicking down for me.
Clicking down. HBO Max and Amazon Prime might be where it's at.
Yeah, HBO Max. I'll give that to them because a lot of the movies they put out are bad, but at least they put them out. At least they put them out. At least it's
that's not an
free.
HBO Max problem. That's a Warner Brothers problem.
Fair. Good point. Yes.
That's the HBO series are fantastic.
Good point. You're right. Thank you for clocking me on that because that's very true. Because Wonder Woman was. I don't want to talk about that.
Please no.
Let's not even do that.
You're gonna piss me off.
I don't even want to do that. Let's not do there. All right, y'all. That brings us to the end of the show. Make sure you rate and subscribe us on wherever you are listening to the podcast, and you can check us out on YouTube at Another Relaunch TV. If you want to watch the show and get in there, subscribe over there. You can find us on Twitter at Another Relaunch. You can email us any questions, concerns to at anotherrelaunch@gmail.com. You can find me on most social media stuff. I need to try to change my PlayStation name to this too, but it's Uncanny LZ. You can find me anywhere. Keenan, where can they find you?
Maybe I should change my Xbox. No, I actually don't want that to be my Xbox name. Never mind. You can find me on most social media at Keenan Lance. There's an underscore at the end. But now I do want to change my Xbox name. So my Xbox name, if anyone ever wants to play with me, my gamer tag is Hippie Creed. It was like it was a thing. I was playing Assassin's Creed one day. It doesn't matter. I want to change.
We were kids. Yeah.
We were kids. You think about that. You think of some of the names you have when, like, for stuff that you created, the forums and things. You're just like, ooh, something's wrong with me.
You can find my PlayStation name is I think it's Marvel Man 19.
Yes.
That's why I want to change it. I
Yes.
think it's
Marvel
Marvel Man
Man.
19.
Come
Because I think I
on.
made it when I was like 19. I think. And of course Marvel Man.
Dang. I love it.
All right, let's get up out of here. We'll catch y'all later.